I'm not going to start in the beginning, but I'll just quickly reference a few things for the people who haven't been a part of the work that we've done here over the past year. About a year ago, we came before the trustees and communicated the focus that we would have in the year ahead in the area of the Commission on Organizational Communication. And I really have been blessed with Bruce, as well as Meryl McDonald and Gary Grates, to have a great team to work with, along with Frank Oviatt. Our focus really has been around what you just heard in terms of first and foremost building a new knowledge management model for employee communications. As you remember, the whole focus was to create this repository, which Bruce has been talking about, but also to commission an important piece of research which we've had underway around global best-in-class practices. So we'll talk about that. I will make a comment that if you want to really understand the science beneath the art, you also have to have a science beneath the science to create the repository and the tools that you need to do this. And we did that this year as we made some clear revisions to our site that would facilitate the use of our repository and other sub-sites. And I want to talk a little bit about that, even though it doesn't delve into research. We'll spend a moment on it. And then we'll talk about 2013 and the work that we really want to focus on. If you haven't been to the site recently, if people like Steve Cody and others who've been blogging about the site haven't led you to it, I would encourage you to go to it. You'll see down at the bottom of the page as you go there, the first entry off of the main page into our sub-site that we have, and then as you go into it, of course, as Bruce was referring to earlier, you'll see the sub-site and all the tools that are available, including the topics that he mentioned that you can click on as a part of, again, the organization around this resource center, which then leads you into the abstracts and so forth, as he's just described. I really appreciate the work that Bruce has done in both helping to provide that content, but also, frankly, the taxonomy, the way we've organized this, so it really is meaningful for practitioners in the work that we're doing. But let's talk a little bit for just a minute about the science beneath the science. And I have here with me today, I just want to ask him to stand for a moment, Jez Proctor, who is with a company called Fuse Media, along with WIC Media, again, as we introduce the WIC team, which has been a great resource to the Institute. This year, Fuse Media, which is now known as Architect out of London, is one of the top firms in the world in using digital planning and digital media and the work that they do around content. And Jez has been the central leader working with Frank and our team at the Institute in refinements around this work. And I'll ask you, Jez, just to quickly describe these refinements so the team here knows exactly what they do in supporting what we're doing now.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I've just arrived recently from London this morning, so I'm a little bit shaky. So we just rebranded as Architect actually today, which is why we are Fuse, but we're called Architect from now on because we've expanded across into the US, so we've had to change our name. I want to thank Keith. I met you in March when I came over to Chicago, and you told me about this project, and you told me about the IPR, and you introduced me to Frank and Jen, and it's been a great pleasure to work with Frank and Jen on this. What we did since March is we put together a plan with Frank and Jen to make sure that we were delivering the research in the framework that people can easily find, so that the site itself existed and we just created some sub-sites behind that. So there are now 3 new sub-sites which are repositories for the research and abstracts that Bruce is putting together. We've improved the search functionality, so you can either search within the main site or you can search within a drop-down for the 3 sub-sites if you want to be more specific. So if you're a regular user of the OrgCom site, the organizational communication site, you can only search within that if you want, or you can search within the whole site if you're looking for more of a keynote message. We talked with Frank a great deal about different devices. So a digital company these days always needs to keep in mind people are using things on the go. We discussed at length whether we should have the ability to download onto a mobile phone or anything like that, and we felt that that wouldn't be useful, but it would be useful if someone's on the go, they know there's a research or an abstract they were looking for, they're on their way to a meeting, but the way the site displays on their smartphone, an iPhone or a BlackBerry, wouldn't be useful as it currently was, so we've adapted it with something called responsive design. So if you look at it through your phone, it'll look different, but it'll look the way you need it to look. So you'll see the list of the articles that you want to find, and you'll see the search easily. And then you can also, through your phone, just then email yourself that link. So if you are out of the office, you can pick it up later, because you don't want to be downloading large PDFs or anything like that to your phone. We did some work on the database. It's quite boring, but it's important, and it was necessary to be done. There was a lot of data in there that was kept, which we discussed with you, Frank, and we realized it was over 12,000 bits of data that weren't required. about who had visited and IP addresses and things like that, and that's not the kind of information we wanted to keep. So it makes the site lightweight. And finally, we've inserted some analytics, which were there. They're part of the way it was built originally. It was built on a WordPress platform, but we made sure that Jen and Frank could access that and see how it works, so they can see which sites are popular, which pages are popular, which research is really popular with people, and then we can add based on that. And I think your comments, Bruce, are really interesting, so we pick up on some of those ideas as well.
Great.
Thank you.
I want to thank Jez, and I'll ask you to join me in thanking him for the investment.